Hi everybody, my name is Marshall Zweig, and this is session 1 of Truth Empowered Relationships. I used to be behind a paywall for about a year, and I want to make this free. There's a couple who's going to work with me soon, and she's quite inspiring. It's a heterosexual couple, and the female, when I wrote and said, boy, actually, I should back up, they're saving up money to work with me about 6 weeks out. And when I said to her, I want you to be able to stay in this process because they're struggling in their relationships, that's when people usually reach out to a relationship facilitator, an intimacy therapist like me. She said, oh, we're not afraid of a little homework. So I want to give you this and a bunch of other sessions for free so that if you're at that crisis point in your relationship, you have some guidance. You have something that you can be working on, you can be interacting with while you wait, or even instead of working with me. I'm not looking for you to work with me. I'm looking to be here for you if you want to work with me. So, again, my name is Marshall Zweig, and I may have never met you, but I care about you. I care about you in your relationship, and I'm rooting for you to be the fully realized you. Now, I want to be extremely authentic here. It's who I am, and you'll get to know me over sessions, and if you decide to work with me, I'm working off notes because this was a session I did a while back, and I wanted to make sure to get this content in. But I go off script a lot, so I just want you to understand these are my words I'm reading, but I am reading some of them. So if you see my eyes going like this, you're not making it up. I'm looking at a script here. I'm rooting for everyone out there, including myself, to be who they really are. I believe that's the way humanity was meant to be, and we're being called now to be who we really are, not who we think we are, not who people tell us we are. That happens a lot. Not who we're trying to be, not who we pretend to be. So, what do I mean by who we really are? I mean who we are with our emotions flowing freely. Now, maybe the idea that you aren't connected with who you really are sounds absurd to you. Let me take you through what I mean, and along the way, you see if the idea of having lost connection with the essence of who you really are starts to make sense. Now, let me pause there and say, I'm going to try to keep these sessions to about half an hour. If I go longer, I'm going to notice it and stop short and start again. This is because people live busy lives. If you're watching this and you're in crisis right now in your relationship, you're probably going through a lot. In addition, if you have children, in addition to taking care of the kids, taking care of the house, taking care of the bills, working, you're also dealing with the challenges in your relationship. So I want to give you chunks that you can work on, half-hour chunks that you can work on, take into your laboratory inside you. By the way, and I'm going to get to this in the notes, because I say something, don't take it to mean it's true. Everything I'm saying is asking you to be a scientist, asking you to try these things on. And I'm going to get into why I believe you can trust me. There's some stuff on my website too about it, but I live what I coach. We'll get into that. So if having lost connection with the essence of who you really are starts to make sense, rest assured, one of the benefits of truth-empowered relationships, which is my method, is that we will reconnect with who we really are, with our authentic selves. Before we start, I ask that we all check in with ourselves. So I'm going to ask you to rate yourselves from 1 to 10, how connected you feel to yourself and to life. Let me describe 1, the low point, as if you will. 1 is that you feel isolated from yourself and isolated from life, like you're watching life from behind frosted glass, which I can absolutely relate to in case that's you. Like everyone is out there living and you're in there watching them live. And watching them live is probably what I meant because I'm reading from the notes. Like it's all going by and you're missing it. Or you're too caught up in your mind most of the time to even realize you're missing it. Whatever your version of that is. Okay, so that's 1. That's the low point. What's 10? What's everything's coming up roses in terms of connection to yourself and to life? 10, I describe that as at peace with your inner and outer worlds. Not that they're perfect, but you're at peace with the perfect imperfection of them. of it. You're comfortable in your own skin no matter what you're feeling. You flow with life when it goes up. You flow with life when it goes down. You embrace every emotion, even the ones that you might not prefer. You embrace them. You embrace the fact that you don't prefer it. You're open. You're present. You breathe easy no matter what your circumstances are, no matter what your emotions are. So let's figure that's 10. So we got 1, life through a frosted glass. Everybody else is living. You're in here or somewhere else. 10 is you're at peace. You're in flow. Your emotions move through you. Where are you from 1 to 10? Just think about it. Think about wherever you are right now. And if you're watching as a couple, each of you come up with your own, might sound obvious, but each of you come up with your own answers. Codependency is, I heard a joke once about codependency where the one person in the relationship, I'm not going to do man and woman, I want all relationships in terms of gender to be respected. So one person in the relationship wakes up the other person in a codependent relationship and says, "Pardon me, honey, I'm so sorry to disturb you," waking them up in the bed. "I just want to know what I'll be feeling today." That's codependency. So come up with your own numbers is my point. I know what it's like to have relationship challenges keep me up at night. And when I wrote this, I'm reading from notes a lot of this time. I won't do that every session. But when I wrote this, I was connected to all these challenges I've had. I know what it's like, let me read this again, to have relationship challenges keep me up at night. I promise you I do. I know what it's like to lay in bed thinking, I wish I'd said that. Thinking, I wish I'd said that instead. Those of you who have watched Seinfeld, that's that jerk store line that George gives when he's eating all that sushi. I don't know if you watched that episode. Or, I wish I could say that, but I could never say that. I used to think all those thoughts. It's been a long time. Replaying the words of a fight over and over. Wondering why the feeling just isn't the same anymore. Wondering what to do about it. So I ask you to stay open to this concept. What we're going to learn and master in truth-empowered relationships will completely transform that reality about relationships. Here are the 3 requirements. The ability to know what you're thinking and feeling. And we're going to learn that here. So if you don't right now, it's okay. Start with if you know that you feel tense in a given situation. We're going to talk about that. But the ability to know what you're thinking and feeling. Noticing, I call it. We'll get to that. 2, the bravery and trust for your partner and trust of the structure that you're going to learn. You can rely on the structure of truth-empowered relationships to say these things out loud, the things you're thinking and feeling. And the commitment to make it safe for others you're in relationship to do the same thing. We're going to learn the steps, we're going to practice them, we're going to master them, and then I want you to watch your relationships transform utterly and completely. Watch yourself let go of grudges, let go of resentments, let go of burdens. Watch your stress decrease. Watch your enjoyment of life increase. Watch yourself feeling like you're living life more fully. That frosted glass goes away, like you're enjoying being alive more. If it comes up, I want to make it clear, I happen to be heterosexual. I happen to identify as male. So if it comes up about my relationship, I'm specifically talking about mine. And when it comes to relationships, I believe in destiny. And I think I always did, but there was a part of me that was wondering, always looking for like, is it you? Is it you? Is it you? I was a serial relationship guy. I went from relationship to relationship. I didn't value my needs in relationship because I was afraid even having needs would make me unlovable. Again, there's a Seinfeld where I can't remember what the line is, but I know somebody says, no sudden movements, no sudden movements. My friend David and I talk about that sometimes. It's like even having a need would make you want to be with me less. And though I always had a radar that would look for people who were nice when I would say, is it you, is it you? I didn't really have a sense of who or what I was looking for in a relationship, or so I believed. And because of that, I married a woman I wasn't attracted to because I had love for her in my heart. The feeling I had inside was every woman I had ever been with, I'm glad I said heterosexual, so I'm saying woman, right? Every person I'd ever been with, I had an almost instant, no, this is not my life partner. Almost instant. Within 30 seconds to a minute. And that may sound surprising to you, or maybe you're just like me. But if they had a reason, a compelling reason in some way for me being with them, I would go along with it because I didn't want to be alone. Anyway, so this woman I married, we ended up in separate bedrooms. I was never attracted to her. I married someone I cared about in my heart, and that my intuition inside didn't give me a no for once, but didn't give me a yes. Just neutral. Lived in separate bedrooms. Never a chemistry and attraction for me. When I met my now wife, Heather, and I have to be careful, I'm about to use the phrase twin flame. That phrase has been around for a long, long time. But there's a documentary on Sixth Sense, I think it's called Twin Flame Universe, I want to say, which, and I promise you, I have not only do I have nothing to do with them, but they're the opposite of everything I believe in, and very, very horrifying to watch. They happen to be the headquarters of them. I don't know where these people are located. The headquarters of them is maybe 15 minutes from this house. So that freaked me out when Heather and I watched it. But anyway, I met Heather and I was like, what is this that I'm feeling? So I Googled all the characteristics that I thought about her, that I experienced with her. There's a story that I'll tell you one time about a gas tank. It's a whole long thing. But I wrote all these things down, and up came the phrase twin flame. That's the first time I'd ever heard of it. And in that moment, when I was reading about that, it was like the end of The Sixth Sense, when he realizes, well, I don't want to, no, spoiler respected. If you haven't seen it, at the end, there's a big twist. And all of a sudden, he replays all the events in the movie, and you see him from a little bit different perspective. So in that moment, I realized everything in my life had been leading me up to this moment, to meeting Heather, to having this destiny-driven relationship. And I say, you happen to wander onto this stream for some reason. Maybe you visited my website, or have you heard about me, or maybe you just are looking for assistance in relationships, support in relationships. Well, I say, being here right now is your destiny. I say you were meant to be here. There are no accidents, because something drew you here. So the question I want you to contemplate is, what was it? What drew you here? What drew you here? What drew you to check out a YouTube live stream, a website that has the phrase truth-empowered relationships? Was it the words in the title? Was it the feeling you got from the description? Was it a sense you got from my face or my words? What was it? Contemplate. Because whatever drew you here, I say it's what you can also intend to get out of being here, to get out of watching these streams and practicing these techniques and this method for yourself, or if you decide to with working with me. It's what you can look forward to getting out of being here. Relationships are hard, and I'm here to make them easy. Not easier, easy. Let me be careful when I say this. I didn't say easy in terms of bravery. You have to be brave. But when you follow the structure, they will become easy. When you practice them, they will become easy. Practice is very important. A very questionable human being, but a very, very successful basketball coach once said the will to win is not nearly as important as the will to prepare to win. So we're definitely going to be doing prep work. And that's necessary when you have to learn. It's like speaking a new language and listening to a new language in a new way and learning about yourself in a new way, talking with yourself in a new way. But I say it's easy. It's easy because you get to be who you are. And how can you not be who you are, right? We'll get there in a minute. So there are two basic precepts to truth-empowered relationships. One, resensitize yourself so you can tell the truth. And two, tell the truth to others and to yourself. Make it safe for them to tell you the truth. So what do I mean by telling the truth? Am I talking about chopping down a cherry tree like, what was that, George Washington, whoever that was? Well, that's certainly part of it. But the major part is telling the truth about your inner world in the moment. It's a skill that, like I said, will exercise like a muscle until you're connected to it, until you have learned this new language. So let me tell you a little bit about me. A little over 20 years ago, I went to my first, I'm going to have a sip of this drink. This is, by the way, I'm not a nutrition coach, But this has electrolytes in it. It's electrolyte. It's alkaline water with electrolytes in it. It's called Hydrosurge. They also have something called Ultima. And I once went to a doctor who wanted to charge me $3,000, I think it was, to radically transform my health. Remember, I said, be careful who you let coach you. And he ran the numbers on me. I don't know if he took my blood or a urine sample, and he goes, do you happen to drink something called Ultima? I said, yeah, multiple times a day. Oh, he didn't really have anything else to tell me. This is powerful stuff. So, 22 years ago, I attended something called Personal Growth University. And it ended up being 5 years of advanced leadership and coaching training. And when you signed the year-long contract, you had to write your occupation. And at the time, I was a writer, creative director, producer. I didn't want to write that. Nothing in me said to write that. And so I wrote, and I didn't know where it came from, but I wrote, stand for the truth. Stand for the truth on that document. And I don't recall ever having a more powerful year of personal growth. So my introduction to you is that I'm a stand for the truth. I'm a stand for the truth in relationships. But that's who I am. You'll always get the truth, authenticity. Never not. You're going to get the authentic me. This is me. And that's what I'm going to ask from you. It's who I am. So once again, I'm going to tell you, because it's in the notes, but I want to see where I went in these notes. I had written down, be careful trusting coaches who talk the talk but don't walk the walk. Now, my friends will tell you, not that I'm asking, I used to see on these dating sites when I would go on these, well, you all, I shouldn't say you all, but everybody knows what a dating website is. So often the profiles would be like, well, my best friends say I'm, or my family tells me I'm, and I would always think that's so odd. You tell me who you are. Why are you asking other people? But for validation, I'll be glad to tell you that my closest relationships will affirm, and that includes my wife, my child, my best friends. They'll all tell you I'm completely truthful. All my closest, and that includes people I have had challenging relationships with. One of them, and we have a perfectly respectful relationship now, one of them is my mother, who, because it was done to her, in my version of reality, according to the facts of what happened, gaslighted me. She gaslighted me. And we are now at a point where I talk to her about it. Psychologists will recommend you don't do that. But we have talked through everything. There is nothing I keep inside and pretend it didn't happen anymore. And we have a legitimate, respectful relationships. And as a matter of fact, I'm talking to you right now from a beautiful, beautiful laptop that she bought for me because she believes in me. When I became a coach, she wanted me to have this. Our son and myself. And that's tricky because, like I said, I'm a survivor of gaslighting. So sometimes life still feels surreal as a survivor of gaslighting, like I'm watching a movie versus being in the movie. So I'm a work in progress too. But I have a great deal of clarity about it too. And I say that because I want you to know, again, try everything on that I say to you, but the things I have to offer you are things that have already worked miracles in my life and in other people's lives. That's why I want to offer it, because I believe I have something important to offer. I'm glancing at the clock. And that also includes my late father. And I'm going to talk to you more about him either in a minute or in the next session. I want to see how far in. Oh, no, I got time. So, though I didn't get to be as honest with my father as I did and I am with my mom, he told me something shockingly honest one evening in our basement in Michigan, here where I am. And it was perhaps the most disturbing and also the most revealing experience of my life in terms of who I am to other people. I realized in that moment, and I've had people come to me with very shocking things. I won't tell you what my dad said in that moment, but I will tell you that I have stood for the truth. We'll call it like that. I really don't like the phrase coaching. I stood for the truth with a person who was a reformed professional killer. I'm 100% serious. I've stood for a person, and the fact that this person told me the truth was quite moving for me. And how much regret and guilt and shame and horror they had about their previous life. A person I stood for once beat a person way past unconsciousness in a fit of road rage and drove away. It was a mountain road. To this day, this person has no idea if whoever they encountered lived or died. I've had lots of people confess affairs to me. I've had women that I've been in a relationship confess affairs to me. I honor the truth. And the point is, I practice what I preach. Learning to be who I really am has worked for me, has worked for the people I've stood for, the people closest to me. Learning to be who I am, listening to myself, also worked to distance myself from relationships where people don't actually want me to be who I really am and don't want to be who they really are. So what I'm going to share over this course of sessions took me over 2 decades and hundreds of thousands of dollars to get clear on. I want to save you that time and I want to save you that money. And I'm telling you 21 minutes into this live stream, but I'm telling you right up front, I don't want people to be spending that kind of money. Who even has that money to spend? But if you don't, I want to save you tons of time, tons of suffering, because I have a way that works in relationship. I'm going to be publishing a book later this year, and I don't call it this. That's not the title. The title is going to be Truth Empowered Relationships. But for me, it's a book of love. It's a book of love that you can refer to, because love doesn't come with a manual. But my goal is to make it come with a manual, and that's why I want this book published. That's why I want these streams out there. I believe what you can learn in Truth Empowered Relationships is like forwarding through decades of personal growth, through decades of therapy, fast forwarding through clearing away the cobwebs that people go through, the noise and the chatter. Don't get me wrong. I can't guarantee all of it will go away, but we're going to have ways to create space around it. And when you create space around things, that's when they move. And I'm going to set you up with supportive relationships to clear away the rest of your cobwebs while you live your life. How to have supportive relationships while you do that, while you get happier, while you get more clear and more free as life progresses. And by the way, that's the opposite of the way most people experience life on earth. They experience life as a decline, as a lessening, as a worsening. I said the 2 basic precepts, if I boil them down, were truth and sensitivity. I'm at 22 minutes. Let me go just through this, and I'll pick up in the next session. Here are my traumatic and yet formative stories of each of those precepts, truth and sensitivity. And they both involve my father. The first one is, as a child, I am a survivor of childhood sexual trauma. When I came home from it, and I don't have proof of this, but my body tells me I was 4. It could have been 5, could have even been 6, but I don't think so, because at that point I would have been in school. I think I was 4. And all I could get out, I was standing right near my closet, was, "Daddy, I feel sad." It was very difficult. Part of me had blocked it out while it was happening, and part of me was repulsed by it, and part of me was wondering, am I going to stay feeling this way? And all I could manage was, "Daddy, I feel sad." And his response was, "Don't be sad, son. There are people in wheelchairs." Now, I will tell you, just to show you how the psyche works, for decades afterwards, when I would see someone in a wheelchair, this is true, my penis would hurt. How interesting, right? Don't be sad, son. There are people in wheelchairs. So my body was giving me clues, just like your body does. You may not have listened to them, but your body does too. The things that bother you, we can turn them back into words and turn them from words into feelings and clear through them. Now there's the second thing. I told you he told me a shocking truth. So I was in the basement and I brought up some sexual fantasies that I was disturbed by, which, by the way, are completely common for a survivor of sexual trauma. And he took that opportunity to tell me that when he said 15 or 16, I guess he didn't remember, but he committed a gravely serious crime. And I was the only person he ever told. And I kept it inside me, thinking I was doing a good deed, putting white light around it for 30 years until I met my wife. And she was someone safe that I could tell. And I've told fewer than 15 people who are making or have made a difference in my life, are people that I feel close to, grateful to in some way. But the two together, and this is not counting the other stuff that I've gone through, but those two things together created deep emotional unwellness in me. And what I found is emotional unwellness is just another word for mental illness. And the way to stay sane or get back to sanity is to stay sensitive or to resensitize. And that's why I'm a resensitization therapist and an intimacy therapist. I actually invented and created resensitization therapy. It's an approved modality by the International Association of Therapists. But the goal here is to find your sensitivity and tell the truth about it to someone who actually loves you for who you are. That's what I want to set you all up with. Because I say whenever two or more are gathered in the name of truth and gathered in the light of emotion, there is love. There is real love. There is authentic love between two people that you thought maybe was simply an illusion, a thing people say. I once went to a friend of mine's house. He's quite well-to-do. And I had always heard about the phrase full-bodied wine. And I thought it was a myth that rich people traded with to pay expensive prices for wine. Well, he popped open this bottle of wine. I was out in north of San Diego. And I took a sip, and this thing coated my tongue like a blanket. I had never had that experience before. And I said to the guy, my friend, "Is this wine full-bodied?" "Yes, very," he said. And I said, I thought that was just a myth that rich people made up. It's real. Full-bodied wine is real. And real love is real too. It's not a myth. It's what you get when two people are willing to be themselves with each other. So I'm going to show you how to create this kind of relationship for yourself. It's a step-by-step process. There's some pillars. There's some rules. And each session builds on the one before. I think that was it geometry or trigonometry? I could never remember. I think it was geometry, where you have to learn one theorem, and then the next one goes off that theorem, and the next one goes off that theorem. So once we go through the structure, we're going to practice it, we're going to refine it, we're going to make you masters in it. And all it takes is a commitment to resensitize and to tell the truth, the complete truth, about your inner world. And I think to a degree, if you're seeing it as a person who's not in a relationship, it'll work. But if you're in a relationship, it also takes the fact that you are already truly in love with this person. And in love means that there was some point in time in your relationship where you really felt legitimately loved. I think that's part of it too, if you want to work on this in your relationship. So we're at 28 minutes. I'm going to go through the rest in the next session. But I want to leave you with these two questions to contemplate. And you can always message me, email me. What is your relationship with the truth? What is your relationship with the truth? Is number one. And two is, what is your relationship to sensitivity? What is your relationship to sensitivity? And I'll put these in the comments section afterwards. In session two, we're going to go over why resensitizing is important. So I look forward to seeing you there and to talking to you more there. Thank you for spending this time with me. This is a valuable use of your time. And if you end up commenting about your relationship to the truth or your relationship to sensitivity without using your name, if it's something that I think will add to somebody else's life, I may bring it up in future sessions. Okay, if you don't want me to do that, just put a note in the comment section. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to seeing you at the next session.